He was a hardened criminal, and the judge condemned him to life in prison. No hope of parole. Year after year, the prisoner survived in his simple, bare cell until one day he asked for a big piece of cardboard and some drawing materials. On it, he painted a big skull with crossbones and placed it against the wall of his cell. And every time the prison guard passed by and peeped into his cell to check out on him, the prisoner would tell him, "Well, someday I too will pass through there," pointing to the skull and crossbones. And the warden was really impressed by the prisoner who was meditating on his own death. Long months passed until one day, when the guard peeped into the cell, the prisoner was gone. The cardboard skull was on the ground, and a gaping hole in the cell wall sat staring at him. At night, the prisoner had been quietly digging away an escape tunnel and hiding it behind the skull painted on that cardboard. After all, he did pass through where the skull and crossbones were, however, not by dying in the cell, but by escaping from his prison cell to freedom. Is that the end of the road? Is it the end of life? Or is it the beginning of a new life? We are all terrified of death. Go and speak to those who are told that their condition is terminal. We all know we have to die, but the moment when we know our time is really up, that's a different story. It is then that we feel crushed and lost. Is that really the end of the road? Or is that the only way out of this prison cell that we call earthly life? Our only way to the real freedom we have been created for. The Gospel speaks of 7 brothers who all died without begetting children from the same wife. And the last one to die was the poor childless woman. Quite a strong woman. Is not this a powerful image of humanity, incapable as it is of controlling and begetting life by its own power? Is not this a painful way of saying that humanity itself cannot overcome death by its own power? To whom of the brothers should that barren wife belong? Which means, who can claim to possess the power to beget life? Who can claim to be the author and the owner of life? And let's be honest, is not this what our time and age, our so-called progressive and liberal culture is claiming? In the name of freedom, we decide who is to live and who is to die, who should be born and who should be thrown into the dustbin of death. Abortion, euthanasia, racism, violence, homicide, femicide. Are not these ways of claiming absolute power and authority over human life? And is not this human pride and power that is destroying the life of the whole planet for the sake of greed, for the sake of profit? No, we are not the ultimate masters of life. Because life is a gift, not a possession. Life is much greater than us because it is a gift lovingly given to us freely and permanently. What God gives, God never takes away. He did not create us to die. No one has a right over anyone else. No one gives existence to himself or to herself. We all receive it from a loving God who yearns to see us sharing His love and His life and what is real living, if not passing on this gift of life to our children, to those around us. You see, there are two kinds of life and two kinds of death. If, on the one hand, living means grasping things, accumulating wealth, privileges for oneself, profiting from the weakness of others, exploiting them, that kind of life only leads to death. Just think the war in Ukraine, all over the world. People are being destroyed by conflicts, violence. If, on the other hand, living means giving, sharing, helping, walking with our fellow human beings, it does ask of us to die, but to our selfishness, to our self centeredness. This kind of death will lead to real, everlasting life. A false life will inevitably lead to a painful, destructive death. A real life will inevitably lead to a peaceful and life giving death. In today's Gospel, Jesus puts it in his own unique and genial way. The children of this age marry and remarry, but those who are deemed worthy to attain to the coming age and to the resurrection of the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage. They can no longer die, for they are like angels and they are the children of God. Yes, in many ways, we do not have a choice. We all die. But thanks to Jesus, and with Jesus, we do have a choice on what kind of death we want to have, what kind of life we want to live and to have. And if we choose to give life to those around us, our death will lead us to a life that has no end. If we choose to keep our lives to ourselves only, it will dry up and slip through our fingers, making death more than painfully real. And when all is said and done, the choice is indeed ours. Yes, we all have to die, but we all can choose to live well beyond death, or to die well beyond life. God is life because God is love. And everything we know here on earth will pass away in one way or another. But as St. Paul says, now there remain three things: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. And if God is love, then God is the gift of life that never ends. And like the prisoner in his prison cell, let us see death not as the end of the road, but as the tunnel opening our way to a free life, way beyond what we can dream of here on earth. And once we leave this planet, we will discover what a tiny, limited, and limiting cell this planet has been compared to the infinite, the unlimited openness of God's loving heart and love. God bless you and safe journey through life.